Hey there. I just am been reflecting as I am on Interstate 10, driving on this gorgeous day, on my life and where things went tragically south for me. I was in 2005. I was finishing up my bachelor's degree late in my 20s at the University of New Mexico, and I wanted to do something interesting. I was looking at joining a group and going to either Ghana or joining another group for just the summer, or which is in West Africa, or joining another group and teaching English in China. And I ended up choosing the teaching English in China bit over going to Ghana, and that might have been one of my worst decisions of my life. And so I taught English in Hunan province, in Changsha, which is the capital of the Hunan province. It's a place where Mao Zedong went to university and gained much of his thoughts and such, and the birth of the Chinese communism, kind of. It's also a province that is notorious for foodborne parasites, particularly through freshwater fish and eels and snails and things like that, because it's considered a delicacy there. Anyways, I didn't know any of this when I went there. I went completely ignorant. I was doing great in life. I was really doing fantastically. Interestingly, anyways, so I'm teaching English in Changsha, and we're coordinated with a guy who was allegedly a Christian, not evangelical, a missionary, I guess, of sorts, of trying to give hope to the Chinese people and teaching the words of Christ. And so we went with we spent a weekend out on the countryside, where we went hiking and stuff, and stayed in this little village. And I ended up I'm 6'3", right, 192 centimeters, and so to many of these Chinese, like I was the largest man they'd ever seen in terms of height and stuff, and I was like, they thought I looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they made fun of that, and people would randomly take pictures of me as I walked down these remoter areas of China where they'd never seen a foreigner, let alone a man my height. Anyways, in this village that we were staying, where we were hiking and stuff, and it was really beautiful out there, but in these mountains, and we ended up playing a pickup game of basketball where the young men of the village were all on the team, and then we had a team of us. It was funny, the entire village came and watched, and there was a scoreboard and scorekeeper and stuff, and it was a big deal for them, and for us it was just casual play. But whenever any of the Chinese players would challenge my height and the pain and stuff, the whole village would go, "Ooh," or when I would go to the hoop. It was very endearing. It was funny. Anyways, at the end of the weekend, it wasn't just a group of foreign English teachers, American English teachers. We also had some people who were allegedly Chinese who were interested in Christianity, but as I reflect, I think that was just a government front. Anyways, when we got back into the capital, Changsha, we went way out of our way to go to this specific restaurant. I have an international background. I've traveled a lot. I've never wanted to be the stuck-up foreigner who won't eat the local cuisine or experience the local culture. That's just part of who I am. And so I placed my faith in this restaurant and my host to eat all this food. And I ate some things, very highly questionable things that I shouldn't have. I didn't think twice about it. And I ate like whole fish heads and cartilage and just crazy stuff. And I was like, don't tell me what I'm eating. Just it tastes good. And little did I know, I was likely being parasitized. As when I returned to the United States, this is when all my gastrointestinal issues started. My diarrhea, my bloating, my gas, my acid reflux. And it all became very chronic and severe problems. And so that was a horrible decision of me to place my trust in other people that I thought I could trust. And I remember these Chinese men goading me on to eat this stuff, and like, oh yeah, that's it, eat it all, and like, and then speaking in Chinese, and even when you can read nonverbal language, right? Body language, and just tones, and there's even when you don't understand the language, you can understand a lot of the message of what's being said by their intonation of what they say, and what they're accenting, and the speed of the conversation. And something inside of me told me that they're like saying, boy, this guy has no idea what he's in for, and his life is going to be miserable, right? And so I moved back to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I finished my bachelor's degree, and then I worked as a contract employee at the Veterans Administration's hospital in Albuquerque, doing neuroimaging research, where I had an MRI where there is clearly some sort of lesion or cyst right here in my frontal cortex behind my left eye. That's very disturbing. I was having a lot of neurological problems then, my hypersomnia, my chronic fatigue, all these orthostatic intolerance, they all started after my trip to China, which I find fascinating because there have been so many illnesses, anything from COVID to other respiratory conditions that have all originated in China, of all places. Isn't that interesting, huh? And so, and it's been since then that I haven't been able to get any sort of help from the medical community. I've been, it's been an uphill battle for me. And since then, I've been designated probably on terrorist watch list, because this is when I started getting the SSSS, the quadruple S designation on my boarding passes, where I get extra scrutiny. My life's just made it a little bit more difficult. Or I got pulled over once and was accused of DUI when I was stone cold sober, and I blew zeros twice, and they still pressed charges. I still had to go to court. Or where I had a simple traffic citation, minor traffic citation, and I paid the ticket late because I was too depressed. I was too sick, and because of that, I had my license suspended for a year. I mean, that's not justice. Fortunately, I had a friend from UNM who was now an attorney, and he was a public defender at the court I was going through, and he helped me get out of that mess, but it's I've been facing a lot of weird hurdles throughout my life, since this trip to China. They become unnecessarily difficult. My life has just become unnecessarily difficult, and I've had when a lot of odd things happen to all of us, right? But when they start to happen with frequency and repeatedly, well, then that ceases to be bad luck, and that is defying probability. Okay. When you're not seeking trouble, but trouble keeps on happening to you, well, then that's got to make you pause and say, what's going on here? Because you can only run a string of bad luck for so long, right? And eventually you got to get lucky, right? Well, what if you never do? I mean, or at least you got neutral, right? But man, when everything's just working against you, and you're just that breaks the rules of probability. It breaks the normal distribution curve of what should happen to a person who's not seeking out trouble, who's a good person, a law-abiding person, who isn't malicious, who doesn't have nefarious bad intentions towards others. And so I just wanted to document this and share that my life really went downhill quick after I taught English in China, and I went out to the countryside that weekend, played basketball with the village, and then came back and had a very questionable meal in Changsha, Hunan Province, China in 2005.